Leader Kim Jongun publicly mentioned for the first time North Korea's plans for a dialogue with South Korea and the U.S. Now, ever since the idea of a summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Kim Jongun was floated, no specific dates or venue had been set, and questions were growing over whether North Korea would indeed take part in the talks. But now, with Kim's public acknowledgement, things are looking up for the Trump-Kim summit as well. And before I sit down with an expert to talk more about this, let's first head over to Devin Whiting at the News Center for the latest headlines at this hour. Hello, Devin.
Hi, June. That's right. Kim Jong-un mentioned the summit for the first time yesterday in a meeting of the Politburo. And what he said matches up with the details we know about the summit so far, that it'll be on the 27th of this month in Panmunjom. Kim also made his first mention of the proposed talks with the U.S. Iji-wan has this report.
With two historic summits ahead, North Korean leader Kim Jongun chaired a key meeting on Monday. The Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea held a meeting on Monday, and it's the first time such a meeting has been reported in 3 years. Kim Jong-un, as chairman of the party and of the State Affairs Commission, chaired the meeting and mentioned the recent developments on the Korean Peninsula as one of the topics, according to Korean Central News Agency on Tuesday. Kim said the InterKorean talks will be held at the House of Peace in the southern side of the truce village of Panmunjom on April 27th, the first time the details of the summit have been reported within Pyongyang. And along with giving an in-depth analysis of the InterKorean summit, Kim also mentioned the prospect of U.S. North Korea talks, officially acknowledging the possible meeting for the first time. Kim delivered the strategic and tactical issues the party must focus on, including policies on international relations. And last week, North Korea once again reiterated that the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula could be resolved if all the parties move forward in unison. Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency said Tuesday that a North Korean official at the Non-Aligned Movement Summit in Azerbaijan last week made such remarks when asked about North Korea's denuclearization. It follows the stance made by North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at his summit with the Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing late March. There, Kim said denuclearization can be reached if South Korea and the U.S. create an atmosphere of peace and stability while taking progressive steps forward with the North for the realization of peace. Iji-wan, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korean Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa will sit down with her Japanese counterpart on Wednesday to discuss their country's bilateral relations and the North Korea nuclear issue. Japanese Foreign Minister Taro is in South Korea for 2 days, starting Tuesday, according to sources at Seoul's foreign ministry. Kono is also expected to meet with other senior government officials to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. When it comes to the InterKorean summit later this month, Kono is expected to ask Seoul to bring up the issue of Japanese nationals abducted by the North. South Korea's National Assembly remains at a standstill. No legislation is getting passed, and today, a scheduled Q&A session with government officials was put off. It was just yesterday that they called off a planned speech by the Prime Minister, who was going to urge them to act on the government's proposed extra spending bill. Lawmakers have still found no way forward on issues like amending the Constitution. Kim Min-ji has more.
No sign of a let-up in the impasse at South Korea's parliament. A 3-day interpellation session at the National Assembly scheduled to begin on Tuesday has been put on hold. That was unexpected since the agenda was set back in late March when the parties agreed to hold a parliament session in April, and given that it was to address major issues such as the InterKorean summit and the government's extra budget proposal. Since the start of the April session last Monday, the Assembly has been at a standstill. The parties are at odds over how to amend the Constitution and divided over how to revise the Broadcast Act to strengthen neutrality. Adding fuel to the fire, a controversy surrounding the chief of the Financial Supervisory Service, Kim Ki-sik, has set the parties even further apart. Kim has been under fire for trips he took overseas, sponsored by financial institutions while he was a lawmaker. Although he denied giving them any preferential treatment in return, the opposition parties have demanded a prosecutorial probe into the matter. For now, it seems the paralysis will linger for some time, with parties sticking to the blame game. The impasse casts a dark cloud over whether the rival parties can get through the stack of agendas, such as the legal procedures for holding a referendum on constitutional revision in tandem with local elections in June, as well as deliberating the government's extra budget bill. Some pundits say that should the rival parties leave the session like this, getting no work done, they will be subject to harsh public criticism. At the end of the day, all sides will have to make concessions, but the question is exactly when and which party will make the first move. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
South Korea's financial authorities are looking into a trading error at Samsung Securities last Friday that led to almost 3 billion non-existent shares in the company being dished out as dividends to employees. Kim Hae-sung reports.
South Korea's financial watchdog said Monday it has launched a special inspection into Samsung Securities over its trading error, which allowed banned naked short selling orders to be processed. The special inspection came as Samsung Securities on Friday mistakenly paid 1,000 shares to each of its employees for every share they owned under a stock ownership plan, instead of paying cash dividends of 1,000 won, or just under $1, resulting in 2.8 billion non-existent stocks being given out as dividends. The blunder caused the firm's stock price to plunge by more than 11% during trading on Friday. It recovered slightly before the markets closed, but the incident raised concerns over the firm's trading system and moral hazard issues as some employees sold the so-called ghost stocks. The Financial Supervisory Service called the trading error a big financial incident that significantly undermines the safety of and trust in capital markets. Finance Minister Kim Jongun also said Monday on a local radio program that the financial authorities will take measures against Samsung Securities over the transactions. On top of the special investigation launched Monday, the FSS plans to do a 9-day on-site inspection into the firm starting Wednesday to look into the trading system and how it sold the ghost stocks which were neither issued nor existed. Samsung Securities CEO Jong-un apologized for the blunder Sunday, but the dividend debacle rekindled concerns that some brokerages could engage in naked short selling, which has been banned in South Korea since the 2008 global financial crisis. As of Tuesday morning, over 200,000 Koreans took to the Blue House online petition page calling for regulation of Samsung Securities. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
In other news, President Trump says he'll soon decide on Washington's response to Saturday's suspected chemical weapons attack on Syrian civilians. The U.S. has accused Syria and its ally Russia and Iran of carrying out the alleged attack, which they say never happened. Noadam reports.
Speaking during a cabinet meeting on Monday, Trump again condemned Saturday's apparent attack as, quote, heinous. Aid groups on the ground in Duma say more than 40 civilians were killed by what they described as poison gas. Just over a year ago, Trump ordered dozens of cruise missiles to be fired at a Syrian airbase after declaring the Assad regime had used a banned gas on civilians. In Monday's cabinet meeting, he did not rule out another U.S. military attack on Syria, adding Russian President Vladimir Putin may also be held accountable for supporting Damascus.
He may. And if he does, it's going to be very tough. Very tough.
He'll pay a price.
Everybody's going to pay a price. He will. Everybody will.
Mr. President, is U.S. military action, is it off the table as it relates?
Nothing's off the table. Nothing's off the table.
Syria and its allies, Russia and Iran, have all denied there was any chemical attack. The Russian military also said its officers had visited the apparent site of the attack in Duma and found no evidence to back up reports of poison gas being used. Amid the deliberations at Washington, the U.S. and Russia clashed at the UN Security Council, which was meeting on Monday to discuss the issue. U.S. envoy Nikki Haley said Washington will respond to the alleged attack regardless of whether the Security Council takes action or not. Russia's UN envoy warned America of, quote, grave repercussions if it carries out an attack against Syrian government forces. Noaram, Arirang News.
I'm Devin Whiting, and those are your news headlines for this hour.
U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that his meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jongun will take place as agreed, although it may happen later than originally anticipated. Trump also spoke about the chance for the two sides to make a fresh start after years of going toe-to-toe. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
President Trump says he plans to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un next month or in early June in order to hopefully reach a deal on denuclearizing the regime. Trump made the remarks at a cabinet meeting on Monday, expressing optimism over the talks and what the summit could mean for the future.
North Korea, by the way, as you've probably seen, and we've been in touch with North Korea, we'll be meeting with them sometime in May or early June. And I think there'll be great respect paid by both parties, and hopefully we'll be able to make a deal on the denuking of North Korea. If they've said so, we've said so. Hopefully it'll be a relationship that's much different than it's been for many, many years.
This comes after the White House had previously said President Trump would meet with Kim Jong-un before the end of May. Trump said direct talks should have happened years ago, but stressed that he was looking forward to the summit.
This should have been done by other presidents, and they decided they didn't do it. They couldn't have done it. But it would have been a lot easier if it were done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a lot easier than now. But we have a meeting that is being set up with North Korea, so that'll be very exciting, I think, for the world.
Over the weekend, the White House confirmed North Korea had told the U.S. that it was willing to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, offering a clearer picture of the agenda for the talks. However, observers remain cautious despite the easing tensions, with John Bolton officially starting his position as Trump's national security advisor on Monday, replacing H.R. McMaster. Bolton had previously outlined his advocacy of an attack on North Korea. Many hope his case for striking North Korea first will not negatively affect the upcoming summit. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And to tell us more about this, Dr. Woo Jung-yup, a research fellow at the Sejong Institute, joins us in the studio today. So good to see you.
Thank you for having me today.
All right, so reports have been coming out on how North Korea and the U.S. have been holding direct and secret talks for the summit between Trump and Kim, and that Pyongyang has told Washington for the first time that it's ready to discuss the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula with the U.S. So tell us more about these developments.
After our special envoy visited Washington, D.C. and told President Trump that North Korea had the intention to denuclearize itself, but since then, North Korea has not directly contacted the United States and did not mention about their intention to denuclearize. So many concerns about the sincerity of North Korea's proposal. But on Monday, on Eastern Time in Washington, D.C., that President Trump confirmed during his cabinet meeting that they have been meeting, North Korea and the United States have been meeting, and North Korea still mentions, directly mentions to United States that its intention to denuclearize. So I think that there had been concern when President Trump replaced his national security advisor and the Secretary of State with John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, who had been considered as a hawkish policy advocate toward North Korea. So there has been concern that maybe United States is not interested in having talks with North Korea. But President Trump confirmed that he's going to meet with North Korean leader maybe end of May or early June.
So all these talks over denuclearization have been surfacing, but how sincere do you think Kim Jong-un is when it comes to denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula?
Everyone hopes that he's sincere this time when he talks about denuclearizing North Korea. But other than he delivered a couple messages to our special envoy, he has not directly mentioned, or he even not declare anything about denuclearization, and he has not shown any concrete actions about denuclearizing itself. Maybe it's one good thing that he has not done any nuclear test or missile test since the November last year, But we still need more to know whether he's really sincere this time to have a negotiation with the United States and international community, including South Korea. So that is why United States government has been arguing that North Korea's words should be matched by concrete actions by them.
And Japan's Yomiuri Shimbun, citing diplomatic sources, reported recently that Kim Jongun is willing to completely denuclearize in return for a security guarantee from the United States. So what are your thoughts on this?
When Kim Jongun mentioned about denuclearization to our special envoy when he met in early March, that he mentioned that when the security concern is gone on Korean Peninsula, North Korea can talk about denuclearization. So when he mentioned about security concerns, it usually means the U.S. forces on Korean Peninsula and the ROK-U.S. alliance. So if he insists dismantling of ROK-U.S. alliance and about the USFK, then it's going to be very difficult for the related parties to reach an agreement on denuclearization. So I don't know what he really means about security guarantee from the United States, because in September 19 agreement, that there was a clause that United States does not have any intention to attack North Korea, and U.S. government position is not intended for regime change in North Korea. So other than that, we don't know yet what North Korea wants from the United States. But if North Korea insists about dismantling of ROK-U.S. alliance, it's going to be a very tough negotiation.
And there are also talks that North Korea might demand more economic aid, broad economic aid, as well as lessening of international pressure on its regime, and also that security guarantee in order for it to start denuclearizing or even to discuss denuclearization.
So that was the kind of tactics that North Korea has been employing long time ago when it does not have any sincerity on denuclearization. But United States and the international community believe that the reason why North Korea come back to the negotiating with South Korea and the United States is because they are under the pressure of international sanctions. Okay. So there is no incentive for the United States to give the lifting of sanctions first, even before North Korea discusses about denuclearization. So U.S. has been on the firm position that there is no present for just coming to the negotiation. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, the agenda for the InterKorean summit scheduled for April 27th hasn't been set yet, but we have another high-level InterKorean meeting coming up next week. So would we see the agenda set up then during that meeting?
It might be very difficult for even at the high-level meetings that this and this are going to be discussed by the two leaders, because we don't know yet what kind of development that we are going to see between North Korea and the United States, depending on how far and how fast United States and North Korea can reach the agreement or even this negotiating about the denuclearization. We can also decide what can be discussed with the North Korean leader. Okay. Because we cannot say unilaterally to North Korea, because it doesn't mean anything to denuclearize North Korea this time. So we have to know what's going on between North Korea and the United States, and depending on the possible outcome of North Korea and the U.S. summit, we can also decide what can be achieved during the summit between two Koreas.
Now, at this point, we're wondering, what does denuclearization exactly mean for South Korea, the U.S., and North Korea? I mean, I'm sure that this word has a different meaning and significance for each of those countries.
So it is very clear for the United States. They always request for the CVID, complement, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement. So they want to get rid of all the programs related to the WMD. But from North Korean perspective, we have not seen any clear message on denuclearization. When North Korean leader already mentioned that this is in our constitution and this is my grandfather's will, and when they talk about denuclearization in early 90s, there was no nuclear weapons on North Korea. Only South Korea has deployed nuclear weapons from the United States. So the denuclearization means totally different thing in early 90s when they first talk about denuclearization of Korean Peninsula. So when they keep using the word denuclearization of Korean Peninsula, when South Korea does not have any nuclear weapons, it sounds a little bit strange to South Korean publics and even the observers. So we have to be very clear and find the exact word that what North Korea means by denuclearization. So that is why the negotiation this time is very important.
Now, the Nikkei newspaper reported last week that Kim Jongun told Chinese President Xi Jinping that North Korea is willing to return to the six-party talks over North Korea's nuclear weapons program as well as missile tests. So what can we make of this decision?
The report has not been confirmed by any party, even including China yet. So we don't know whether it's true or not. But there is enough incentive for North Korea to use six-party talks. Because as North Korea is coming back to the negotiating table because of the pressure levied by the United States, when they have to have bilateral negotiation with the United States, they are going to be weaker in negotiating. So they need more supporters when North Korea negotiate with the United States. So that is why I believe that North Korea first approached South Korea, then China. And so when it comes to the multilateral settings, I think North Korea might feel much comfortable in that setting compared to its bilateral negotiation with the United States. I think that is why this kind of report came out.
Now, we know that North Korean Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho is in Russia now to meet with his counterpart. What are the chances of us seeing Kim Jong-un meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin before all these important summits?
So we didn't know that Kim Jong-un was going to meet Xi Jinping first place. And the reason why Kim Jong-un met President Xi Jinping was that he needed a supporter in negotiating with the United States. And Russia might be also another good friend for the North Korea when it comes to negotiating with the United States. So I think the chances are much higher than before that Kim Jong-un might meet President Putin before the summit with President Moon Jae-in of South Korea. Or if timing does not comply with them, then at least at the latest before the summit with President Trump, I think Kim Jong-un is going to try to have President Putin on his side.
Better to have two than one, right, on his side. Now, Japanese Foreign Minister Taro will be arriving in Korea late today to meet with his counterpart Kang Kyung-hwa. And now, what will be discussed during their meeting in regards to North Korea's nuclear weapons program and denuclearization?
Maybe Japanese Foreign Minister is going to discuss three things with our Minister Kang Kyung-hwa. First one is that they want to re-emphasize the talk about the Japanese abductee issues in negotiating with North Korea. And second, Japanese government is trying very hard to push for complete denuclearization of North Korea.
Just like the U.S.?
Yes, because Japan has been concerned about possible outcome which is short of complete denuclearization. So Japanese government is trying to push hard and make a request to South Korean government to push for the same complete denuclearization of North Korea. And third, as discussions has been very rapid between North and South and the North and the United States, Japan looks like it's been like excluded in the discussion. So probably Japanese government want to be looped in the discussion with the North Korea.
So going back to the preparations for the InterKorean summit, what's left on the calendar until April 27th?
High-level talks are scheduled to be held, and also there should be another like working level meetings because there has been a lot of like detailed issues that has to be determined by two parties, like like protocols and like secret services and the media arrangement. Even though there has been like 4-hour meeting before these like working level meeting, working level issues, but it cannot be solved at the 4-hour meeting or all those detailed complexities. So I believe that before April 27th, we are going to have a series of working level meetings in military, government, and all different government agencies.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight today.
Thank you.
And that does it from me, but we'll be back here tomorrow at the same time for more in-depth analysis on various issues here in Korea and around the world. So don't forget to tune in then. Thanks for watching and see you soon.